Hi, this is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. So recently we had the first orchid show, the first in-person orchid show since the pandemic began. And this is my off-the-cuff interview with Martin, a fellow society member. I did ambush him, I have to say, and I hadn't prepared anything. It was just a little chat and I thought it would be useful to video it for people. The microphone was necessarily pointed at Martin, so you can hear him pretty well, but my voice is kind of lost in the background. So I've added some subtitles just for the questions, just so you can hear what I'm actually asking him. So Martin is a fantastic orchid grower. He really does grow lots of genera that I've never even heard of before. And what makes it even more relevant to my channel is that he grows them in the cold, dull, damp north of England in a greenhouse. So I hope you enjoy this video, and there will be several more coming up on the recent orchid show. So let's jump in. So your greenhouse, how big is, you said you've got two greenhouses?
Yeah.
So how big are they?
Greenhouse, it's about 10 foot by 6 foot, both of them are the same size. So they're not huge, but they're very well filled.
They must be, because like the amount that you put on the Facebook page is absolutely, I mean everyone, there's not a one I see and I go, yeah, I recognise that genus. It's like, I don't know how you come up with such rarities.
I grow mainly species, so about 90% of the orchids are species, very little in the way of hybrids.
That's even harder, isn't it? That's even more demanding.
They can be. I grow a lot of African Angraecoid orchids, so that's Angraecums, Avanthes, Mystacidium, Avanthes, Cryptopus. Right. And even a lot of the leafless Angraecoid, so Mycelium.
Are they ghost orchids then?
Yeah, so that's Dendrophylax. So Dendrophylax are leafless and part of the Angraecoid family, and Mycelium are leafless orchids as well. They are quite difficult because if you get the conditions wrong, they will rot. So they need daily watering. And they need to dry out in between.
I think for anybody in the UK, if you're growing in a greenhouse anywhere, rot is that's your biggest danger, isn't it? That's your number one enemy.
I mean, an option is perhaps putting a fan in there if it's quite humid and
I've got
good air circulation.
3 fans.
I think good air circulation is important, and for some orchids it's the humidity. So actually having the combination of a humidifier and a fan, I know it sounds a bit odd, but it actually works quite well.
Are you a surgeon?
So background, doctor, but background I did neurosurgery.
How do you distance that when you've got all that emotion on a day-to-day basis? I mean, I did read something that said all surgeons are psychopathic. I don't know how true that is. But not in not in a murderous kind of way, clearly. It's a spectrum, isn't it?
I think it's having this growing orchids as a distraction is my way of, it's my own space. I go there, I forget all the time, and I can just focus. And when they're going well, it's fantastic. When things don't go quite as well, I get disappointed. I think that's natural for all growers. And I bring all the good ones, I post the good ones, but obviously there's going to be disasters along the way. And actually, when you were pointing about your orchids there, I mean, I've got 3 small bulbs. They started growing fine, and then they just disintegrated. I'm hopeful in the fact the bulbs are fine. I'm going to dry them and see for next year, but I mean, I've not been able to grow that this year, so there's not all success with this.
Because I knew somebody'd ask me about it. And it's not all stored in my head. I can't, especially because I've got all these different things and they're not all orchids. So I end up watching one of my own videos to see what the care requirements are, just to kind of gem myself up on it to see what I'm doing with it.
I guess it's good to have a video diary of what you're doing well, and you can look back and think, oh, actually.
Absolutely,
and that's what I do with my pictures now. I look back and say, right, what did it look like then? And,
it's a record as much as anything else, isn't it? Because you can't keep all these things in your head. I mean, I was wondering if it's like a growing journey. Like you look at blooms and it's like, I want that. But what you should really do is look at your conditions and then say, right, what can I grow in these conditions? We'd all do it back to front, don't we?
I think I must admit I do look at something and I want to grow that. And
even though you know.
and I think about what can I do to modify my conditions? And for me it's a lot about the Angraecoid orchids now. So and especially the leafless ones, I'll try and modify the conditions. So like the ghost orchid, they're very difficult to grow. I have 4 different types of ghost orchids, including the Florida Dendrophylax lindenii, which is the one everyone knows of. and it's incredibly hard to grow. Luckily, I've had it for 2 years. I've got 2 strong growing roots, and the rest are just all kind of old roots, and I'm just hoping that it's going to take off. But I've just looked at that and said I want one, and
that's the challenge of it, isn't it?
It is. I think that's what I enjoy the most, actually, is the challenge of going something which everyone says is impossible. Then I like.
But I just wondered, as we all age, that you start narrowing it down. And thinking, right, well, what I want to grow, like Ed, he like more or less focuses on Fragmipediums and Coffeopedilums now. And I wonder whether he started growing everything and you just narrow it and narrow it and narrow it.
Although he has got some Cattleyas this time.
I think he grows those in his house.
Yeah. So I think for me, I've gone from everything to now just going Angraecoids, and then everything else I keep, and I still add to, but not as much. So my real passion now is Angraecoids. And hopefully be able to have a look at the orchids I've got. So I've just got 9 on a small display, so
I'm good. Would
we'll have a
you
look.
go through a couple of them? Should we nip over and have a look?
So, this is in the Angraecoid family. It's a Mysticidum capensi, which is from Central Africa. It's actually got 2 spikes very close to each other, so it's come out. And like all Angraecoids, they have this very long spur at the back because they're pollinated by moths. And the reason why they're often white is because moths come out at night, and obviously the white reflects the moon, so they stand out. And often they're night scented, so the challenge is to go into the greenhouse at night to smell them.
So presumably they've got like a proboscis that long.
Exactly. Some of them are really long when you look at them. This is actually in the same genus, actually, even though it looks nothing like. But if you look closely at the flowers, you see again it's got this long spur at the back where.
Yes, I can see it.
But this is more of a browny red colour. It's got 2 spikes. It's a bit difficult to see, but again, this does really well. It's flowered last year for me. And then the rest of my collection here is mainly pleurothalids. So this is Pleurophthalis megalops. So megalops means big tongue, and I think it's probably because this area here resembles a tongue. But it's
Are they related to Ristrapias? They do look very similar.
So the Pleurophthalis all in the same genus.
Right. I've only got one Pleurophthalis, and it's never done that well for me.
This is again.
Well, that's a weird shape.
Yeah, it's in the Pleurothalid family. It's Tristella.
See, this is what always confuses me, because you know how they say orchids supposedly have 3 petals and 3 sepals?
Yes.
And you look at something like that,
and
you're
they're
like, where are the 3 petals and the 3 sepals?
Exactly. Another Pleurothalid. You can see tiny little, almost translucent flowers.
You just like lob them all in a bucket.
I spray them.
Right. Yeah, you can, I suppose.
Again, same genus, so many flowers, but they're all so tiny. I wouldn't normally bring something like this, but because it had so many, I thought it was worth seeing.
What's this one?
This, I have to look this up again.
You said, didn't you, earlier?
But I will get it for you. Polytinus trulifera. I think it's more in the Stanopia class, where the flower spike comes actually below the pot, so you have to go in a net pot.
Yeah, like a Dracula.
Exactly, and I'm quite lucky actually. It's got another 2 flower spikes emerging at the other side, so we're going to have quite a nice display. But I mean, this came out yesterday. It's all come out together, which is fantastic. But very odd. It's got almost like hairs coming out in places.
Zoom in on that one. Yeah, that's lovely close up. That's actually nicer close up, isn't it, when you see those?
When you look at the individual flowers, they really are intricate.
Yeah.
And then the other orchid I've got is again in the Pleurothallis category. It's a type of Scaphosepalum, but it does not have the typical Scaphosepalum flowers, but it's still quite pretty with multiple bloom spikes. It's.
I also think they look much nicer in terracotta pots with a bit of moss on the side.
Most of my plants are mounted, but when they're not mounted, they're in terracotta pots, unless they need to be in a net pot for some reason.
That's a good idea, putting it on that.
So It is, and it isn't. I'm actually going to take this off. The reason why, it's a terracotta mount. I actually don't like it because the roots don't attach. And I think it needs to be something more wood, like cork, where the roots can actually properly attach.
It's strange because like callias do, don't they attach like
yeah, but I'm going to take this off. It came on it. I've had it about 2 years, and it's come on it, and none of the roots have attached. So I'm going to take it off and put it on something which is more suited to. Yeah. No problem at all.
I really appreciate that. Thank
no
you.
Problem. Okay.
Cheers.
Thanks.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Martin. I certainly did. I hope you got something from it. And I have several videos coming up all about the Orchid Show and how I got on with my very first orchid entry. If you are local to me and you live in the north of England and you're interested in joining the Orchid Society, then click the link in the description. So that's it for now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.